Hi everyone, it's Anet, and today I want to show you how to use different techniques on some of the panels for the clipboard that I have altered. I'm doing this altered clipboard that is part of my final challenge for level 2 from the Altenew Educators program. To give the clipboard some vintage feeling, I'm going to use the Altenew pure white crisp embossing powder with some embossing ink here on the edges of the clipboard. I'm going to use some embossing ink here onto the edges. And I'm just going to add it randomly here where I want it. And I'm not going to add too much. I'm now going to add the Altenew pure white crisp embossing powder. I'm now going to use the heat gun. Just look how beautiful this Altenew pure white crisp embossing powder have embossed here on the clipboard. Oh, I just love it. I'm going to add this panel onto the clipboard here. This panel measures 8.5 inches by 11.25 inch. I'm going to do the ink smooshing technique with the Altenew Mocha Crisp Dye ink. And for this I'm going to use some acetate, and I'm going to use the acetate so that I can move the color where I want it onto the cardstock. So I'm going to add the Altenew Crisp Dye ink Mocha here onto the acetate. I'm going to spritz it with some water. And then I'm just going to randomly move it onto the cardstock. I like using the acetate with the dye ink because smooshing with my acetate, I can move it where I want it. So I'm now going to build up the background here, and in between I'm going to heat set it with my heat gun and just build up the colors. I will allow the colors to dry and create some harder edges in between. So now you can just watch how I'm doing this. So you can see this is going to take some time to build up your background using the acetate with the Altenew Crisp Dye ink Mocha, just to create this beautiful texture background. And just move your cardstock around as you work, just to make it easier for you to smoosh the ink onto the cardstock. And as you can see, this came out so beautiful after it dried. I just love this background. And I've decided that I'm going to use the Altenew Crisp Dye ink Espresso here on the edges here on the top and bottom. And I'm just going to use a blending brush with the Altenew Crisp Dye ink Espresso. I'm just placing the espresso ink onto the glass mat, and I'm going to ink blend it. And now to achieve this beautiful ink darker than the others, I'm just going to do it darker in some areas. And turn your page if you feel like you want to see where you actually want to add these darker areas. Oh, I just think this is beautiful. Oh, I just love this Altenew crisp dye inks. It ink blends so beautiful, and this smooshing ink technique just came out beautiful here on the background. Oh, I just love it. I'm now going to go a step further with this beautiful panel that I've created for the clipboard. I'm now going to use the stencil foil technique, which was not part of the ASP courses, the Celebration Stencil Technique by Laurel. This is a technique I love to use with stencils and incorporating all those scrap foils. If you're like me, keeping your scrap foils, this is the perfect technique to use all this scrap foils of yours with your beautiful Altenew stencils. I'm going to use the Altenew Buffalo Plaid Builder stencil with some foil. I'm going to use some gesso with the Altenew Buffalo Plaid Builder stencil. And I'm just going to place it through the stencil. Just going to peel this off. While the gesso is wet, I'm just going to add here some foil. And I'm just tapping it very lightly. Do not do it too hard. Now I'm going to let it dry. Just look how beautiful this came out. Just by using gesso, the Altenew Buffalo Plaid Builder stencil, and some scrap foil. I just love how this turned out. I think this technique creates such a wonderful texture to background. And who does not love some shine? Oh, I just love it. I'm now going to show you how I'm going to create the panel just behind the beautiful train image that I'm going to use. This measures 4.5 inches by 8 3/4. And I'm going to ink blend with the Altenew Crisp Dye Ink Rocky Shore. And I'm going to use the Decorative Enamels dye to create my background. I already die cut with the Decorative Enamels dye, and I'm going to ink blend with the Altenew Crisp Dye Ink Rocky Shore and using my magnetic platform. I'm now going to use the stencil die cut technique with the ink blending and the positive and negative masking techniques. One of my favorites. And I enjoyed Svetlana's masking at least and Laurel's Celebration Stencil Techniques courses immensely. I'm just going to position my negative mask here onto the cardstock, and I think I'm just going to move it up a little bit. And for this, I'm going to put my die cut back into the negative space. I'm just going to add the Altenew Crisp Dye Ink Rocky Shore just here onto my glass mat. And just using a blending brush. And now I'm just going to blend through the die cut. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually using the die cut as a stencil. I love dies, and by using this technique you are stretching the use of your dies. just look how beautiful this came out. Oh, I just love it. So now I'm just going to do it with this one too. I'm just going to speed up the video when I'm doing this. To use the negative masking technique and just ink blend in this negative mask here. Oh, isn't this looking so pretty? I'm going to speed up the video so that I can finish all of this. Oh, I just love it. So you can see by using this technique you are stretching those use of your dies, and I think this is just beautiful techniques to use on your backgrounds. I'm now going to use the Altenew Tree of Fantasy tree stamp in a different way, and I'm going to use it here on the edges of this background to create some interesting texture. By using your Altenew stamps in a different way, it means you get so much from your stamps. And I just love Therese with the twist course that I completed, and she gave so much great ideas and techniques. I'm just inking with the Altenew Crisp Dye Ink Mocha here onto the tree stump. Oh, isn't this so pretty? It's just beautiful texture. Because I'm using the Altenew train stamp, my husband was saying he thinks this reminds him about the wood that they're using in the train for the steam, and I think this is just a great way of using your stamps in a different way. Oh, I just love this beautiful texture. Oh, I think it's beautiful. After all the fun that I had to alter this clipboard, it is time to adhere all these panels onto the clipboard. This layer just came out so beautiful after I used this Altenew dye inks onto the background here and some gesso with this beautiful stencil. I just think this came out so pretty. I'm now going to adhere this cardboard. I've already added some tape here onto the back, and I'm just going to adhere it onto the panel. I'm now going to add a piece of burlap here onto the cardboard. I think just by using this beautiful decorative enamel dye to create this ink blending background, it just came out so pretty. I just love this. I'm now going to add here this layer onto the panel, and I've already added some foam tape. I've colored this beautiful Enjoy Your Journey stamp with the artist markers from Altenew, and I think this just came out so beautiful. And I'm going to add here onto this layer, and I've added some 3D foam dots already. I first ink blend with the Altenew Indigo Skies dye ink on some white cardstock, and then I die cut it with this decorative enamel dye. And just look at this beautiful detail that you're getting from this dye. I'm going to adhere it just here. I have die cut some white cardstock with number dies and used the Altenew Eucalyptus fresh dye ink to color it, and then I used clear embossing powder and heat embossed it. And I'm just going to add it here. And here the clipboard is all altered. Oh, I think this just came out so beautiful. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope you will give this a try. If you did, please click the like button and do consider subscribing. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you again real soon. Until next time, happy crafting! Bye bye!